friends, today we will see basic configuration or we will go through the dashboard of the smart console R81.0. In the last video we have seen how we can integrate checkpoint cluster into the dashboard. So let's quickly jump to the dashboard. In this video we are going to cover the different tabs options available under the dashboard. We will try to understand what is the benefit, what is the purpose of those dashboard. Starting from this, you can see under the smart console we have smart gateway and server tabs, from where you can add or remove any gateway object. Like we have seen in our previous video, this is a star icon. You can see this icon. You click here, you will have option gateway, cluster, VSX and more. If you click on gateway, you can add a single standalone firewall or gateway object. From cluster, you can create a cluster, which we have done in our last video. We have created this. And if you go to the VSX, this is especially meant for the VSX system. These are not VSX. So if you want to create any VSX gateway, VSX cluster, then you need to select this. You cannot go with this gateway option, right? And the last one is the more, where you can create a checkpoint host. Moving to the second tab, if you go and click here, you will see this is for edit. If you need to make any addition on any of the existing gateway, you can either double click on that, or you can select that and click on edit. Like we click on edit, you will see it will open the general properties of the dashboard. Now you can see this is the management dashboard, which says machine name, IP address. If you are using IP version 6, it will show here. You can put any comment just for this visibility, and the secure internal communication status, which says trust established. Here you cannot click on the communication tab, right? You will see the difference. This is the platform. You can change platform if you are upgrading your firewall or gateway or the management server. But you can change based on this current setup. You can change the version. As of now, we are on the latest version. You can change the operating system. This is the management tab, which says which all blades are currently enabled in this management gateway server. You can see we have enabled policy management. We have not enabled this endpoint policy management blades. This is basically used for, or you can say this management endpoint policy tab is for centrally deployment or monitoring all the devices or the endpoints. If you see this logging, this is for the logging purpose, where you can see the current logs, activities, everything going via your firewall or your gateway. You can monitor from with this help option. There is one more option, identity logging, which is the same purpose, which identify the users and the purpose. This is for user directory, mainly used for the LDAP, and this is a compliance blade. Why you can enable or disable any option if you click enable or disable that. Moving to network management tab. This tab basically is used for this network like interface management. You see we have single interface here, which says external. You can change this internal or DMZ based on your requirement. If you expand this tab, this is the VPN domain, where if you have any VPN configured, this is management server, but the tab is same. We will see the more detail on this gateway. You can enable or disable. You can define the VPN community, VPN host, everything you can configure here. You can see the NAT. If you want to hide your network, you can enable or disable NAT from here, enable or disable. Then the logging purpose, click on the logs and expand this. You can see the current one gateway has configured this machine as its log server. So this cluster here, it is sending all the logs to this management server. So this is the management server as well as treating as a log server. If you want, you can add more additional log server here if you have in your environment you can add. The same way storage, it will show you when disk is below, it will generate a alert. You can see pop-up alert, log, mail. You can define or you can customize anything based on your requirement. So suppose if the disk space is below this, it will pop up alert to the admin like that. Then you can also define the retention policy of the logs. Like if it creates a logs and it fill the data, it will override that and it will after 14 days. Like you can make any changes here. And you can export from here, export logs to the Siemens servers. If you need to send any all the logs to your any external Siemens server or syslog server, you can define here from here. Then additional loggings, what additional loggings you configure, forward these logs. Suppose from this cluster you are sending logs to the management server and you want to send these logs to the any external or any third, any other log servers, you can forward this from here. You can go from each and every tab and you can see this. This is a management, general properties and different tabs available here. Quickly jump to this gateway property. Now if you go and click any of the gateway, see, just select this and click on the edit version. When you click, you can see it is of cluster member properties. It says firewall name, IP, communication status, the NAT tab. If you want to enable the NAT for this gateway, complete gateway, you can enable or disable. Like select this, hide or static NAT. You can define the purpose method of the NAT, where you want to hide the network behind gateway or behind IP. You can define these things. And this is for the VPN tab. You can enable the VPN. We will go through detail. Cancel this. Cancel. Now see, this is a cluster properties. Even we clicked on the gateway, it opened at the backend. It's opened the cluster properties because both the gateway are part of this cluster. Now you cannot make any changes in the individual gateway. You need to make changes on the cluster, which is going to implement on both the nodes because they are part of the cluster. The same if you see this general properties, name of IP, you can click version here, platform here. You can enable, disable the VPN policies. Mobile access blade is for basically for this remote access VPN. You can enable or disable the application controls, which is moreover like the IPS purpose. You can also define the URL filtering from here. You can define the identity awareness, which provides user and machine visibility. Then the content awareness, what is behind this access, what is inside that, you can define. Everything is there. Then you can also define the QoS, quality of services purpose, enable or disable. Then cluster Excel we have already enabled, right? You can also put the monitoring. You can enable DLP, anti-spam. These are the different blade, software blade, inbuilt blade with this gateway. You can enable or disable. For some blades you need to buy a separate license, and for some it is already inbuilt, right? You can click here. Now if you go to the cluster member here, you will see these two are part of cluster. This is firewall A, firewall B, everything. So you can see cluster Excel tab, which says the different what type of cluster Excel, or you can say HA you are using. It is using cluster Excel high availability mode. You can have VRRP, but we have configured cluster Excel, so we will leave it as usual. Then load sharing, you can select any tab based on your requirement and do the settings. Like network management is for basically defining the topology, and you can see this topology interface detail. If you click here, you have system backup option, advanced option, VPN domain and proxy. Like if you need to configure the VPN on this gateway, you can go and click the VPN domain, which will from here you can define this. Say set a specific VPN domain for the gateway communication. This is nothing but the community. You can define from here or intersect traffic. You can define the proxy setting on the gateway, right? Now moving to the next tab is NAT. NAT I've already seen the same way. We can define or enable or see hide internal networks behind this external gateway. If you remember, let me open my topology. This is our internal network and this is our external network. So if any traffic from my internal network want to go to the internet, we can hide this network from our gateway here. And the method can be different. It can be static, it can be hide NAT, static NAT, depends upon your requirement. So if you enable netting here, that is what it says, hide internal network behind the gateway external IP. So in our topology, if you see, this is our external address. In your case, it can be any IP, public IP, right? So if my PC1 want to go to the internet, this PC1 cannot go to the internet by using the private IP, right? So we need to be netted over here. That is what this option says. You can hide the complete network. If you click this, this will hide the complete internal network with the gateway external IP. And you can click on the advanced, you can see the different tab. Further segregation of the netting. If you click this, add a static, it will add automatic rule and hide the internal network behind the gateway. Or if you don't want to expose your gateway, you can put any specific IP. This we will discuss in our netting video, netting session. Then you have further HTTP inspections, HTTP proxy, everything you can enable and disable here. You can go through that. Now, if you see this, this is for especially for IPsec VPN tab. If you go expand that, link selection method. After connecting site-to-site VPN, what will be the IP of our network or the pool can define here. Or if we have any remote access VPN enabled, then you can define the topology or the pool of the remote users from which it will get the IP pool. You can define everything here. And we have VPN advanced tab, that is for this, especially for the VPN tunnel sharing. You can define the wire mode, you can define the NAT enable or disable option here. Next tab is for VPN client. You go and click on the VPN client. It says the VPN client allows the connects this gateway. By default, this is selected. You can enable or disable the option based on your requirement. You can enable an SSL network extender. You can also enable this mobile device or for this iOS or Android client. If this is not selected, your user cannot connect the VPN via mobile, whether it is iOS or Android. Now coming to the logs. See, in this log section, you can see send gateway logs and alert to the management to the server. We have not selected this. This is by default, right? Because when we onboarded this gateway onto this dashboard, we have established a trust communication with this management server. And my management server is currently also serving as the purpose of the log server. So my log is being sent to this. You can also save your logs locally if you want. This is not recommended. Always it's recommended send your all the logs, gateway logs to the log server or the management. If you don't have a log server, you can send in even the management server. But the ideal situation is you have a dedicated log server and send all the logs to there. If you just expand this, you can see local storage options and as additional loggings. The same way we have seen in this management server, when it will generate a alert, pop-up alert or send a mail, everything you can set and customize based on your requirement. Now this is a fetch policy. My gateway always try to communicate or take the policy update from the management server. So if you have suppose change your management server, then you need to define here. By default, it is taking the or it's fetching the policy, all the policy from this management server, because the management server contains the policy database. The gateway just fetch the policy detail from the database. This is, you can see here. Now optimization, this is for defining the optimization on the gateway, like if you can see manually or automatically. This is for the concurrent connection which gateway can handle. You can define or customize based on your gateway hardware capacity. You can go to the checkpoint site where you can see this different hardware concurrent limit, or you can maximize based on that. And this is for the VPN. You can predefine the maximum concurrent section for IK negotiation or the tunnel. Everything you can customize here. Now going to the hit count. If you see this, enable hit count. Just make sure you have enabled this hit count. This is going to help you in future. This is going to help you when you are going to do the hardening or the if you do of the hardware of your firewall, and it helps you. Or if you want to see what all rules are being used at maximum, so that you can customize those rules. So just make sure you can enable this, and this option is enabled. Now going to the others tab, if you go to the others tab, see this again, SMTP. You can define SAM rule, you can define connection persistence and permission to install. So you can legacy authentication, everything is there. You can define and enable and disable based on your requirement. This is about this gateway general properties. Now if you want to remove anything, you can delete any object from here. This object, if you want to know, okay, suppose if we have other gateway which you have already decommissioned, so you want to delete that, just select that and click on this delete. This will delete that object from the database. Now if you can see this script option, you can run a specific script from dashboard to any gateway cluster object. So you click here, it will give you option for the script. Say this is script. You can put a script, define here and run. So from here it will run the selected gateway. It's like remotely running a script to the gateway. Instead of logging to the gateway, you can directly run the script from here. Now if you see there's an action tab, you click on the action tab, you can take backup, you can restore, you can open a shell prompt of this. If you click here, it will ask you username and password, and then you can also log in. If I put here username, admin, password, login. See, it is doing the SSH. So if you don't have putty on your machine, you can also take a SSH session of your firewall, of your management server, of your cluster from here. Click on. You can see we have taken a session directly from the dashboard. This is also one way where you can take a session. Now if you click on the cluster object and try to do the same thing and see where it is landing, whether it is on the firewall A and firewall B, that will also help you to recognize which firewall is in active mode. So just click on the open cell, admin, now you see it is saying connect to which cluster you want, right? I am not selecting this, I am leaving it by default and just doing it login. Click select a cluster member in order to open the cell. So here you can select the cluster. Instead of going to one or two, you can click from here also. Now if you want to open the Gaia portal, you can open from a Gaia portal directly from here. You can install hotfix version upgrade. This is a new feature which is not there in the older version of the gateway server, you can say, or you can say the dashboard, or you can say the version. If you will not see this version in the older R77 or R80, this is a new. You can also fetch the license report from here. You can export. If you click here, export, it will try to export the setting. Now you see CSV, and let me save. Dashboard. This will fetch the detail, all the detail from here. This is also a new feature which was not there earlier. If you click on the monitor, you can see monitor, you can have the device and license information. So I have selected this cluster and I am, see monitor, it will open a tab where it will show you this firewall name, version, Gaia kernel version, uptime of the firewall, and the policy name which is there. We can see which policy is implemented on this firewall, whether this firewall is part of cluster. Yes, cluster XL is enabled, high availability, active, and the membership, you can see it is active. But at the same time, if you go and change this, the secondary node, you will see this will say as a standby. So this monitor tab helps you to see the status of your gateway objects, of your management server objects. You can see the license. This is our trial license. If you click on the license, you will have the license detail. So the license is status is not active. The IP CKs SQs not applicable because this is a trial version. But you can see we have firewall blade enabled, we have IPsec blade enabled, and which is going to expire by this date. The same way, if you have the valid license, you will see this as a green mark, and all these features you can enable or disable based on your license which you have, right? This is currently not enabled, so it says it is available but not active. In the checkpoint trial license, you can enable all the features, all the blade. So I will show you. This is the system counters. If you go here, click on the system counters, it will show you the CPU usage, free disk, everything you can see here. You can change the graph mode from here. Like if I want to see this in this format, it will show me the timings, CPU counter, percentage, average, maximum, minimum installation, and the unit is in the percentage. This helps you to do the monitoring of your gateway. If you go and click on the more tabs, this is an option which gives you the detailed view of the monitoring. But in our case, could not come to the monitoring blade because we have not enabled the monitoring blade. Let me show you quickly. Close this and just open this edit. You see this monitoring blade is not enabled. That's why it's not synced. If I click here, and see OK, and I need to publish that. Publish this. Do a publish. Now you can see after enabling that, we have more detailed view of it. System view. You can check the system history. You can check the firewall. It will connect. It will take some time. So it will show you it's collected because we just enabled that. It will take some time. So you can go through a detailed view of your gateways, your services running. You can from here just by enabling that blade. Also, if you go to the license status now, and if you see this, like there is no separate blade, especially for this monitoring, but we have just enabled the services that is part of this firewall blade only. After that, you can see this feature, detailed view, like system history, asset. It is still operating because we just enabled that. But you can see this. This will give you the complete last hour, last day, last week. You want to see the overall status of that, you can take this from here. So this is all about the gateway and server dashboard, right? The same way you can see at the bottom, these are the tasks, errors, license detail from here, which blades are enabled. You can see here. Now you see this monitoring is enabled. Let me go back quickly and see. We have enabled this monitoring. It says active access blades is monitoring, device name, everything you can see here. The same way we can go security policy. When we will, in our next session, we will go to the security policy tabs and then further log monitors and manage settings. Thanks for watching this video.